for hosting this. And what we've gone through is bail reform and some of the discovery rules that have come about as of January 1st. Also, we're talking about the Green Light Bill and how it's impeded some of our federal partners here as well in doing their jobs. That's a component that I don't think a lot of people saw in that law, and we want to see that changed as well for the security here of this state and this country, rather. But I do want to thank you all for coming. I sincerely, I mean that, and I think we've come up with a few ideas that we've narrowed it down with bail reform. If we could get some type of judicial discretion back into the law, and I think that's I think we all agree in this room that's a point that we should definitely try, and it would help out a lot with some of the issues that we're having out of this these new bail reform laws. Discovery, I'm going to let the DA get into that a little bit more as well, and anybody's open to talk here. Say what you want, and I just want to thank you again for coming here and adding to this discussion. We are trying to change these laws because it is a public safety issue, and we have all talked about it before. Once people think that they are less safe and it gets into here, it's not good. It's not good for their families, it's not good for their well-being, and certainly we don't want a criminal act to happen to any of our loved ones or any of our community members that could have been avoided. So, you want to talk a little bit about Discovery, Craig, and what you're going through? You don't have to.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, I think one of the things with the new law that has been lost is the discovery component of it. I mean, everyone talks about bail because I think that's what's first and foremost in people's mind, and I think it's what people see as affecting public safety the most. But with the new discovery laws, it's another aspect of this law that has really changed how we do business in the DA's offices. And I think it's one of those things where the pendulum, again, has really swung to the extreme. I don't think there's any DA's office in the state that would tell you that, that there wasn't room for improvement in discovery. But we went from having to provide discovery sometimes months down the road, 5, 6, 7 months down the road, to providing discovery within 15 days of every felony, misdemeanor, violation, and traffic infraction. So again, I think that has to change. I think what it's happening is many law enforcement agencies, instead of continuing with investigations after arrest was made, have to now go back into their rooms and essentially make copies so they can make sure that they comply with their discovery obligations, so they can get the discovery to us so we can get it to the defense attorneys. So I would say, although again the bail is getting most of the headlines with this new discovery law, the other thing that is having a detrimental impact, I think, on our offices, on law enforcement agencies, is the discovery component. And I think that has to be something that has to be looked at too, especially the time frames and some of the confidential information that we're required to turn over regarding witnesses and other folks that are truly just trying to help a law enforcement investigation. And now their information is getting out there to criminals within 15 days.
You're saying there could have been improvement on it.
Absolutely,
but
and no one's saying, I think the other knee-jerk reaction is, well, defense should be entitled to what prosecution has. Absolutely, in most instances, it's just requiring it within 15 days of every single arrest it's just, again, it went to the extreme.
And our first responders have to provide everything that they were at the scene, and it's really a lot to do within 15 days. And I don't know if you gentlemen want to chat about that at all, but
I think maybe one of the examples, and it might come best, just to describe what is entailed in discovery for even a traffic stop, which never was before.
True.
From our point of view, recordings of 911 calls, recordings of radio transmissions for dispatch of multiple agencies, communications back and forth between the agencies, either internal or across agencies, any phone conversations that are had afterwards back to our dispatch center relating to the traffic stop. If fire or EMS were involved, documentation that says who they were, by agency, but then also we're understanding that it may be required to turn over lists of names of individuals that actually responded. So these are volunteer folks, volunteer fire departments, volunteer ambulance squads in many cases, that have to compile this information and then share that back. And that's just our part of it. If you, on a traffic stop, what else is provided?
No, that's, again, calibration records, personnel records. If, one of the things you talk about EMS and emergency responders, when emergency responders respond to a scene, we need the information, we need the names, reasonable contact information, generally date of birth of everyone who responded to the scene, because if a crime ends up stemming from that incident, now we've got to run all your we essentially have to run your rap sheets, because if any of you have any criminal histories, and listen, people make mistakes when they're younger. Those are the type of things we have to turn over to the defense counsel within 15 days, and I don't think, that's not what these folks signed up for. They signed up to help.
First responders showing
Very
up,
difficult.
a lot of them, some of them, a lot of them volunteers.
Most of them are
Volunteers, they're trying to, in a time when we're struggling to get
Get
volunteers, now they show up at a scene and they have to turn over all their personal information, addresses.
Date of birth,
Date of
address,
birth.
and the contact phone number.
It's,
Half of what you need to create an account.
Well, and
Financial.
we've become such a litigious society that all of us are gonna end up at some point in time giving out information that somebody's gonna say, you should not have given that out, you jeopardized my family, this defendant now came after my daughter who witnessed this or who helped you out of the kindness of her heart, and she's now been slain because of that. And nobody wants to see those types of tragedies dictate how we're going to change laws and regulations. So getting ahead of it is a good idea now, so we can prevent those types of things from happening.
And that's just for a traffic ticket at an
That's for
accident.
everything. The traffic ticket's handled no different than a felony.
Correct.
just to thank you, I thought that was important to bring up because a lot of people don't realize what's going on out there with Discovery. But if anybody wants to chime in on bail, we'll go back to that as well. Sheriff, what some of the struggles, the chiefs, what some of the struggles you're having with it?
Well, I think more than the struggles, I think it's important that the public understands, once again using the phrase public safety, that there are good pieces to some of this legislation just as well as the pieces that are not good. Does it need to be looked at? Does it need to be overhauled? Yes, there's no doubt that it does. As I look back over the last several years of some of the people that were incarcerated here at this facility, I often questioned, why was bail set? It goes back to the point that Judge Blatchley brought up, that the best person to actually make that determination is the person sitting at the bench to find out what are the life circumstances. This may be a person that we're now going to release on an appearance ticket. Let's not worry so much about public safety. He's so distraught that he got caught and that he engaged in that criminal action, he now is immediately released on an appearance ticket and goes and kills himself. And has a permanent impact on his family, on his community, on officers that are involved, may even push to the point of an officer, suicide by cop situation. Now you've got people that are going through a great deal of mental anguish over what? When people get caught and they get arrested, their blood pressure is up, their mind isn't thinking clear, they're very distraught, they're recalling all the things that they were engaged in, and a lot of bad things can happen at that critical point. That's the time that you actually want to have control over that individual so you can oversee that and make the release at the appropriate time. With this, it's kind of tying the hands and handcuffing, no pun intended, all of us to the point where we can't make those judgment calls.
As well as what we talked about before, the services that you're providing here in the jail. And we're not saying, come to jail and get services, but a lot of times, and we discussed it before, and we've done a lot of work on it in Franklin and Clinton counties, within the jail and helping out with substance use, these individuals, a lot of times, this is their last resort to get help, correct? Whether it be mental health or substance use.
Well, when we talked about the mental health issues, and a lot of times people with mental health issues get arrested by local law enforcement as a result of committing a petty crime. And they go before a judge. Prior to bail reform, the judge could maybe see that he had some mental health issues. Post bail, and see that they get incarcerated, at least for a little while, because the judge knows, when that individual gets incarcerated, he's going to get a mental health review, he's gonna get a substance abuse review. What this bail reform has done is taken that completely out of the judge's hands. We no longer have that opportunity. And like the sheriff alluded to, whether it's a substance abuse issue, I mean, people normally, when they hit rock bottom, is when they finally come to the decision that, yeah, I'm gonna make a change. Prior to that, change is difficult. Somebody comes in with a substance abuse issue, they spend a day or two in jail, they get a chance to get dried out, they get a chance to talk to drug counselors, they get a chance to get into a program. This bail reform's completely removed that, it's completely been removed.
Sure. Anybody else on bail? Another component we did talk about as well with our federal partners is the new green light bill that went into effect middle of December, I believe. Was it December 13th or something like that? But a component to that is not only allowing undocumented immigrants to have a license, but what also happened is it blocked our federal partners over here from access to New York State DMV to run those plates. And we live in a very rural area here. We have vast border space, and a lot of times these Border Patrol agents are working in conjunction with our state and our local people, and they need access to that DMV. And I don't know if it was intended to do that, but I'm proposing a bill to make sure that they get the access that they need. We have a wide area here, and there's a lot of bad people that go back and forth on that border. And to say that these people can't run their plates now, we're almost inviting these bad actors, these bad characters, to get a New York State plate on their vehicle, because they already know this. They know that they can't run those plates. And we're talking about human smugglers, we're talking about drug dealers, we're talking about large operations of people that use people to run stuff back and forth. And a lot of criminal investigations start right here on that. So to impede their ability to do that, it's a real public safety issue, it's a security issue, and I think it's a national security issue, actually. So thank you, gentlemen, for coming here and talking about that and giving us more of an understanding on that. I don't know if you want to talk about it or not, Norm?
Well, I just wanted it's had a significant impact on our operation when the agents are out on the border conducting investigating criminal activity that occurs. They don't have access to to the New York DMV records. So when they're trying to determine whether an individual is up in the area, potentially smuggling somebody or something across the border, they do not have access to that information to determine whether this vehicle is from the local area or is from another part of the New York State, which would be kind of suspicious to have a vehicle up in the area from the city, say at 3 in the morning. It has also impacted our ability to target criminal organizations that have basically structured themselves to work along the border, and that's their main job, is to smuggle things into the United States. So it has impacted us significantly, and I just want to say the Champlain corridor here is, for cross-border activity, is the busiest corridor on the northern border for entries from Canada into the United States. And there are organizations that are working aggressively today to go ahead and smuggle things into the United States.
And it's almost not fair to put them at bay from being able to access this resource when we as local law enforcement are reaching out to them for their assistance to help protect our communities, not just on the national level from the border, but also on the level with our schools, our critical infrastructures. As we said before, these guys very often are the first unit there, and to sit here and say, well, we can't share this DMV information with you, we can't give you that, is totally disrespectful for the safety of our federal agents and for the safety of the public as a whole, not just with the border, but with all of our infrastructure and our schools.
And it is a huge officer safety issue. You want all the information you can obtain prior to engaging a vehicle on a vehicle stop. And when that critical component is missing, it makes that situation even more dangerous.
Thank you. Anybody else? Well, I want to, I'm sure the press will stick around if they want to talk to you individually. They thank you for coming, because this is a very important issue. Like I had said before, when the public feels that they are less safe and their communities are less safe, this is a real problem. And we're coming up with solutions, and I want to thank all of you for your input. I really do thank you for taking time out of your day and telling me and telling us some of your concerns with this. And we really need to do some changes. And thanks for the input, and that's it.
Likewise, thank you,
Thank you.
Assemblyman, for
Thank you.
you leading the charge with helping us making some changes in this, and that experience certainly helps us with that.
Thank you.